Hey everybody, we're live. We're not live if you're on a podcast, but we're live right now on X and YouTube. Welcome into Pro Football Ireland's Championship Sunday preview show presented by SBK. SBK have a very, very worthwhile bonus this week on both the AFC and NFC Championship. You help not only yourself, please God, but ourselves by clicking on the link in the bio. We're checking out our social media stuff, so thank you for your support. Some really, really good odds. Might try and bring them up in this podcast as well. Check them out. Link in the bio. 18 plus. Please be gamble aware. We're here. We've reached the final step, I guess, to Super Bowl 60. Michael McQuaid, Mark Hogan, Jason Hayes, final podcast before we go out to the Bay Area. But unless Hogan and Hayes starts next week, I don't know if that's going to happen, but probably not soon enough. Just good to be here, lads. Good to see you again. What's the crack? And we are almost there. It's crack.
Last podcast on Zoom of the year, Michael. We're going 30 minutes early, live at least, so that we can pack up the microphone as soon as we finish, get done. Jason's your Hogan and Hayes will have to wait for another day. Jason's your first season now in the new gaff. How would you rank the setup versus what you previously had?
I mean, it took me enough time to get going with the setup. I only got the shelving unit last week, so I could have prioritized that a bit sooner, but here I am now. Look, when you've got looks like this, the backup doesn't matter. Everyone's going to be looking at the money maker, so it doesn't matter, Mark.
Me or you? Or what's that?
He's talking about himself. If you just let him sit in awkward silence after he made a comment like that, Michael, that would have been the way to start up. Here, I asked last week, which of the games do you think was more expensive? Obviously, this week we have the Patriots playing the Broncos. The Rams go to Seattle. There's a sizable difference right now, according to ESPN.com, when it comes to the ticket prices. So which game do you think is more expensive, first of all? I presume you can guess that one.
NFC, by a country mile.
By a country mile. So what's a country mile? What do you think? That's the number that I want to get this week.
If we're talking in the King's English on this podcast, I would say by about £2,000 or £3,000 /euro, probably by about $1,000, I would say. And we're obviously going to talk about this in this part of the podcast, Mark. But I would say the Stidham factor has brought the AFC down big time. $500 maybe for a ticket.
I get where you're coming from. It was $450 for Broncos tickets. It was $650.
That's the cheapest one you could see, is it?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. This is a real tangent to getting into the meat and potatoes of this podcast. But when you go into ESPN and the schedule, it'll be like tickets from as low as, and then it'll link you to StubHub or whatever. So I don't know. I always pay attention to it. And this week is obviously outrageous at $650. Yeah, best luck seeing when it comes up for the Super Bowl now.
Well, it's funny because I'm not going to out people in this podcast, but for the first time ever, I've been getting texts from people looking Super Bowl tickets, and this is not I'm not making this up. It's happening, and I'd say 8 out of 10 people that have texted me. The phone's going off on Friday, by the way, for the next 2 weeks. But our Patriots fans, and we will talk about it in a few moments. But they're definitely feeling confident. So good luck to them. I did tell them the starting price with On Location, Mark, is $5,000 for a ticket alone. Never mind the experience
but
around.
On location. Oh, okay, I get what you see. But why are people texting about tickets though? Because there's an absolute chest full of them online. Because my soon-to-be father-in-law is a Broncos season ticket holder. So my twin said to me, "Oh, does that mean he gets dibs on a Super Bowl ticket?" I was like, "Everyone gets dibs on a Super Bowl ticket. They're so expensive. They're just sitting there online for anyone to grab as they will." And as we've learned, if you're heading out to the Super Bowl, wait until 6 hours before the game kicks off and all those prices drop by about $1,000 or $2,000.
Maybe not this year. We'll see who wins this week. It's going to be an interesting scenario. We obviously appreciate not just everybody's support over the last few weeks. There are a couple of things I want to bring up at the start of this podcast before we look ahead to the AFC Championship game, which is on at 8 o'clock on Sunday on Virgin Media. I want to firstly just thank Darren Connell for going to Miami last week for the national championship. I say last week, they only got back in the door on what day is today? Wednesday. They only got back in the door on Wednesday morning from Miami. So props to them. It was sensational. I know you boys aren't fully in on the college thing, and I know you jump in and jump out of it, but I will say, well, it's funny because I'm going to do the Cardinals hit this week. Good luck if you get Carson back, and that's all I'm going to say, because I've watched him for the last 2 years now, and the lad's one of the biggest. No, I'm not going to call him a choke artist, but he has choked a couple of times, and I'll leave it at that. Connell made a really good thing, and I think, Mark, the work that those boys done over the last weekend is a testament to some of the support that we have, but also the true talent and love that they have for football. Connell made a really good point, Mark, about Fernando Mendoza, Kirk Signetti, and Indiana is a bit. It's probably the closest thing is probably like Leicester City winning the Premier League. Do you think we'll ever see like an NFL team come in from the complete doldrums? I'm talking like Cleveland Browns territory and win a Super Bowl in 18 to 24 months over the next 10 years.
I think it'll happen, yeah, but that's the fun of the NFL. There's such parity year to year that anyone can come from anywhere. This is the absolute season that it could have happened. I mean, yeah, I mean, we just have the New England Patriots who had 3 wins last year, and I know they looked off, and the Jags obviously looked phenomenal as well, and they only had 3 wins themselves. There's absolutely the opportunity to have it there. I suppose the Patriots, because of the history that they've had over the last number of years, you wouldn't say that they were out in the whatever you called it, in the doldrums or whatever. But the Jags could absolutely be explained like that based on last year. And I know they've had the quarterback, but it wasn't going their favor. New head coaches, yeah, exactly. A team with a new head coach is probably as big as doldrum as you can get. And that's what you have there with the New England Patriots. So it can happen in the next 3 weeks. Can happen in the next 3 weeks, Michael.
I know, but like I should have said, sorry, Indiana, the most losingest team in college football history. Jason, have you seen much of the Signetti doldrums around your social media this week? The story is incredible. I'm just so proud of the lads for going out there the last few days and really trying to illustrate it for maybe a more NFL watching Irish audience. It's just, it was really cool to watch it Monday night.
I think in terms of like an underdog story, it is hard to compare it to the NFL because the NFL is built to get those poorer teams back in back in the mix with the way the draft is designed, salary cap and all that. So I think in that sense, the college game is more aligned with what we see in soccer, where the top teams have such an advantage, whether that's money at their disposal or a big name or boosters or whatever goes into it. The monetary factor does play more of a role in the college game. So to see a team come from seemingly nowhere and, get the better of the Alabamas, the Florida States, the Ohio States, everyone we've seen over the past 10, 20 years, it's incredible. Yeah, and it's for Dara and Connell, they did a great job covering it. They were there from the first kick of the ball to the last kneel down of the season. Probably not too many reporters can say that, so fair play to those two guys.
Certainly not in Europe.
Absolutely.
I think that's absolutely. I think that's the one thing.
As you said, Mick, they're two just very knowledgeable guys.
Absolutely.
It's funny that you say at the first game of the season they weren't on the field, and then comes around and the fellas are pulling over. I don't know what the player was, but looks at kind of with bemusement looks at the two of them, and they grab them to start the podcast. Way to go to the boys getting that pull.
There's so much. Like if you actually watch like the full, like I actually listened to that podcast. We will go to the NFL in a second. I watched that whole or listened to the podcast on the way out of my house the other morning, and like 15 minutes in, Mendoza's like dad and his brother walk past him, and Dara's just like, "Oh, what's the crack?" And all. It's just like the whole thing's outrageous. But I do think the NFL could learn a little bit about the access in regards to that game. There was around 1,000 people on the sideline, like Michael Irvin, Troy Aikman, Tom Brady, President Trump. It would just be nice if we had that sort of access pre-Super Bowl. Never going to happen, but I just think it was pretty cool. Props to them, props to Miami. Please God, they go to Vegas for the 27 game, and if not, us three will go instead, so we will see. So props to everybody involved. That was a great thing. And I do want to say one more big thanks. I want to give a big shout out to all the kids in St. Patrick's Primary School in Mayo Bridge. And I know that these two boys are too far south for this to know. I actually haven't told anyone this. So I was watching BBC Newsline with my esteemed wife yesterday, and they had a hit on Charlie Smith coming in to see the primary school again. Charlie's mum works in the school, and they had a big presentation on the board, and like 4 of our graphics were on the board, and I just started laughing my head off. Mark, the one that you done, the light blue one, was on it. And it was just a surreal video. On that, obviously, Charlie's joining us on tour on Thursday and Saturday this week in Tyrone and Killarney. We're on tour on Friday night in Galway as well. Ticket links in the bio. Can't wait to see you all, folks, if you're heading out. But that was a pretty cool moment. Mark, he won Star Pupil of the Week after 20 years, which is a big... This happened. This happened the other night. It was very weird in the news, I'm not going to lie. Like,
oh yeah, I'll have to go check it out. No, cool that the graphics got there, but even cooler for the kids getting to say. And hey, look, we know Charlie's been so good now. He's obviously going to be pro football over Ireland over the next few days. But it's just the time, the generosity from that man, Jesus, it's something that we can all take a learning lesson from.
Jesus. Right. Well, we bluffed 10 minutes of a podcast, boys. Let's go into this first game. AFC Championship. We're going to do the NFC Championship on the other side of this here. We've obviously got Jeff's picks as well coming up later in the week on Friday on this podcast. I don't think that'll be too long. We've only got 2 games to talk about. Obviously, Broncos going up against the Patriots in Mile High. Probably one of the biggest storylines last week is really the post game. And I know a lot of Irish people will be listening to this podcast. Maybe Broncos fans listening as well, who maybe went to bed in Europe and woke up to the news, but a lot of us seen it happening live about Bo Nix. I will talk about the Broncos in a minute because I think there is a discussion to be had around this game and now probably the importance or relevance of this game now. I don't think people would agree with a lot of what I'm going to say, but I'll talk about it anyway. Who's talking about the Patriots in this podcast more importantly right now?
More importantly, I mean, look, I think it's a shame what happened to the Bills in terms of losing, but I do think it was an interception the other day, so I don't feel hard done by that. It's not the Bills that we're going to see in this game instead, but obviously it's an even bigger shame, and it's kind of like it was a bit hard done. Just while we're talking about the Broncos, I thought the Broncos kind of got hard done by, like, there was no Bo Nix talk, there was only post-mortem Bills talk, which seemed like, hey, wait a second over here, we just lost our quarterback before the AFC Championship game. But it obviously, we'll talk about it more in a second, but obviously has massive implications on this game. The Patriots have moved to 5.5 point favorites going up to Mile High, and I wonder, like you
Broncos,
said,
Broncos 3-1 mark with SBK, as high as 3-1 on SBK as we speak. The Broncos to win a game to go to the Super Bowl.
I'm going to say why I think there is some value in that. I think anyone would be mad picking against the Patriots, but as we get into this, I mean, Drake May, Michael, did you put up the graphic for Pro Football Ireland is where I saw it, so it was either you or Jason that was being put it up, wasn't me. Drake May could become the first quarterback to beat 3 top 5 defenses in the playoffs. But a stat like that, and this is not a shot at you, a stat like that, it's why wins aren't a quarterback stat, because the Patriots against the Texans the other day had 3 really strong drives, and Drake May absolutely he threw some perfect catches, and I want to give the credit where it's due because that Houston Texans defense is obviously fantastic. Stephon Diggs had an absolutely savage play where he knew he was going to get hit and holds onto the ball. Kayshon Boutte, one-handed highlight catch over Derek Stingley. But, like, what else happened on the other 12 drives? Absolutely next to nothing. The offensive success rate was under 37%. Drake May's stat line, 59% completion rate, sacked 5 times with the interception. And it was the 3rd lowest explosive rate for a team that won of the year. So the Patriots defense obviously had its day as well, but you have to wonder how much of it was really to do with CJ Stroud having such a poor day. Obviously, he had all the interceptions and no passing game. That Texans offense still beat the Patriots in terms of first downs and only had 8 fewer total yards. Like, hold on, are we watching the same game? Like, there was no offense really being played. So I asked the question, how much worse could CJ Stroud, how much worse could Jared Stidham be than CJ Stroud the other day? Because how much more did you need from CJ Stroud to make that a game the other day, considering the Patriots only put up 21 points? And that's where, and I'll let you talk about the Broncos, Michael, but I think, and you see that there's a decision been made to go with Bo Nix, obviously, this year for the Denver Broncos, and Jared Stidham was essentially headhunted by Sean Payton. And why I think there's value in that is the storyline coming out of last year's 2024 draft was the Broncos got the 6th quarterback off the board at pick number 12. The 6th quarterback normally goes in round 5. That's what we were saying. We were saying Sean Payton's getting absolutely landed with this kid that he doesn't really want. And as the offseason goes on, it was, Bo Nix actually had left out little breadcrumbs out that he always wanted Bo Nix. But when I was watching the Broncos play the other day, Bo Nix has thrown the ball away at an outrageous rate that I was like, this is Sean Payton's handprints all over the Broncos offense, that he has told them and has them so fine-tuned to do exactly what he wants, that why can't that be Jared Stidham? I really think that it's a body is on that field that can see and do exactly what Sean Payton wants.
I feel like you've got me to go into the Broncos here right now. Before I go into the Broncos, I'll just talk generally very, very quickly. Yes, there is a height of arrogance here. Probably, I wouldn't say I'm arrogant, but when it comes to the point of the season where we wait for all year when the when the point when nationals are when the point where champions are made. We've seen obviously the national championship early in the week. We're getting to the Super Bowl coming up now. You want to see the best of the best go against each other, and I understand the Broncos are number one seed. They're a hell of a football team. Don't get me wrong, I'll talk about it in a second. But to potentially be going to a Super Bowl with Jared Stidham under center for one of the teams, it's not great. And then there's the flip side of that coin that you mentioned there a minute ago with CJ Stroud and about the three big plays or whatever for New England. I am in the cohort that sat up and watched the Chargers-Patriots game, and obviously watched the game. That game was on Virgin Media last week between the Texans and the Patriots. And, it was almost not putting, anti-Patriots glass on, absolutely not. But it was very frustrating to watch the Chargers game because same crap again. At what point are they going to be challenged offensively? Yes, the defense for the Patriots is very good, but at what point is somebody actually going to lay it up on the field and just go at them? It hasn't happened. We're now 60 minutes away from a Super Bowl. So is it going to be a situation where New England walk in, walk out, go to a Super Bowl, Drake Matis? That's great if he goes and wins it. What I'm really concerned about is going to happen here is they're going to get stomped by the NFC champion. And the last thing that I want is a complete walkover by a team. I don't want it. I want competitiveness. I think it suits the narrative. I think it's incredible to have the Patriots back in the big time. 6 years after the last time that's happened? A Patriots fan texted me earlier on saying, it's been a really tough few years. And I'm sitting thinking, well, it's been 20 years of dominance. Like it's borderline. This should not have happened. Like, I'm just going to go out there and say it. I'm delighted for everyone. It's so many Patriots fans in Ireland. I know we're going to meet a lot of them over the next few nights and stuff, but Jesus, lads, like, come on here. This is like me practicing for a live event, trying not to go too far with this. But, certainly I would definitely be in the mindset of I don't believe they've been challenged effectively. We'll talk about the NFC Championship game in the other half of this podcast. You look at what Seattle done the other night. You look at, obviously, the Rams and the offensive prowess that they have and really the determination. And you'd worry about the AFC this year because I think for a neutral fan, it's not attractive to watch now.
But I guess that's where I'm setting the game up as kind of exactly what you're saying, that like the Patriots will go against a really good defense again and, be damned those stories about not playing a good schedule. But it's like that headline stat of they have to play in really a good defense again. They've showed, and that's what I'm saying. Like, there was absolute signs there the other day. I got sidetracked when we were late starting. I don't know why I was gone down this rabbit hole of watching the next gen stats and kind of where Drake May was putting the ball. And it's clear that they were having no success outside the numbers, the left side of the field. And when you're watching the plays develop after that, they do open up the middle of the field. So it's like the offense is able to scheme, and you have to give them credit for putting up those 21 points. Obviously, there was a touchdown scored by the defense as well. But that's the point. It's like you're saying, Michael, they have to have an offense. They have to have a team that can play complementary football. And I feel like we're kind of getting robbed of that all of a sudden, that CJ Stroud absolutely tanked the Texans offense. So no matter how good the defense was, didn't stand a chance. And then that's what I'm saying. I'm a bit more hopeful that you cannot be as bad as the Texans offense was the other day. And you're going to have a Broncos defense that is just as strong as it. Sorry, I know, Jason, if you want to jump in as well, I know we haven't let you in at all, but I do think that it sets up better, but I don't see the offense for the Broncos being as bad as the Texans the other day, and that's why I'm giving them some credit.
Jason, I'll just jump in and give the keys here very quickly, and I'll let you give the general, and then Mark with the pitches. But just generally on that, you look at the Broncos, and Broncos fans, I'm not too far from home here, so don't be going on at me, but Broncos fans will certainly be like, well, we deserve to be here. We're the number one seed. It's not our fault Bo Nix went down, yada, yada, yada. Get off Twitter. I've seen multiple tweets about they might play him. He had surgery on Tuesday. He's not going to play. It's Jared Stidham in the NFC Championship game. I think the obvious one is, Mark mentioned it there, but when you look at how New England went up against Houston, the sacks, the fumbles, the multiple scrambles on that game, and the fact that it was so stop start. The offensive line is going to be crucial in this game for Denver. Against the Bills last week, they only forced, I think it was 5 turnovers and 3 sacks. That's not the level at which we expect this Broncos team to play out across the season. They need to get better on that there. They need to find a way to collapse the pocket and make May uncomfortable. And frankly, you take Stidham out of that conversation, lads. Straight up, that's a situation where you're looking at the Broncos defense going in and just making May completely uncomfortable generally. Denver is different when it comes to the playoffs. Like I had a chance to go to a playoff game in Denver many, many moons ago, and the noise of that crowd. I know a lot of you boys would have heard it last week, and a lot of people listening would have heard it last week. Any time, and you heard Sean Payton last week talk about when they come on the field, make the noise from then. Don't give them the opportunity. And you could see, as close as the game was last week, you could see Josh Allen and McDermott and all the other guys in terms of coaches in the sideline. And the players look confused. That is clearly having an element in this crowd. Find a way to quieten down the opposition. Find a way to make sure that May is not getting points on the board. 4 previous visits for the Patriots in the playoffs in terms of going to Denver, 0 wins. They've scored under 20 points in each game. Granted, they had a very, very different beast a quarterback for this year. But the same thing is, it's been proven that Denver is a stout place to go in the playoffs. And then Jason, just the last one for me. The mood, the optimism in Denver, yes, it's a bit more flat than what it was last week, but there's certainly a perception of, why not us? Why can't we win this game? Backup quarterbacks have won huge playoff games before. They have an elite defense. They have home field edge. I think they're 9-1 at home, including the playoffs. If they can play clean, no turnovers, limit the penalties, efficient football, they could grind out a result. That being said, though, you look, Jason, at Stidham and you think to yourself, right, it's going to become very, very clear very, very quickly in this game. How comfortable is he in the pocket? We can dress it up all we want. He was not getting first team reps until Monday morning, Tuesday morning, whenever, this week. So that's the reality of the situation. How is he connecting with the wide receivers? Is it a matter of running the ball more? If that's not working, that's when panic starts to set in. But there is 100% an avenue here, Jason, where the Broncos go in and get a win very, very close. Obviously, the altitude, field goals, etc., is a huge, huge factor as well in this game when you got a guy like Will Lutz there. But I was stunned with that news on Sunday night, and I just don't see the number 1 seed going to the Super Bowl. And I hope I'm proven wrong on this. And I just think Jason, the Patriots are going back to their old ways and just being gritty.
Jason, just because Michael's made a point there about your backup quarterbacks and maybe that there's the balloon has been deflated in Denver. Can you name the quarterback that I had hope in, and I'm sure you did too, in the 2015, the end of the 2014 season when the Cardinals played the Carolina Panthers in the wild card round, and after a season of all the hopes and dreams, the Cardinals lost. I think they lost Drew Stanton in the game beforehand, so they're down to their 3rd string quarterback. Do you remember who it was?
I wish I didn't. It's Ryan Lindley.
Ryan Lindley. And did you go into that game expecting them to win? Because as a fan, I know I did. So I'm sure Denver, no, Jared Stidham's got this.
What I remember of leading into that week was the rumors that we were going to bring Tim Tebow in. So I think that said a lot. Kurt Warner, I think, was given a call if he's still interested in coming back. So yeah, that went as expected, that game. No, I mean, you kind of do make yourself believe as a fan, don't you? But
you have to at this point of the year. You have to.
You have to. I think, look...
And you give it to other things. You give it to the offensive players. Like Curtin Sutton the other day, he was missing balls as well that he has to come down with this week. And again, Sean Payton, the offensive mind that he is, should be able to call plays. Sorry, Jason.
I think based on everything you guys have said, what's going through my head now is that the first quarter is everything in this game. Can Denver get Stidham a lead to manage? Can they get the running game going? And then can the defense just do what they've done all year? If there's one thing you can say about this Broncos team is that they're resilient. Because in the 15 wins they've got throughout the year, 13 of them have come from behind victories. So, Mark, you bring up CJ Stroud and his sloppiness last week. You can guarantee that won't be there because Sean Payton won't allow it to be there. This game plan is going to be so controlled that if Denver can get that initial lead, can they hang on to it? Can they just get that run game going? They only had 10 combined running back carries against Buffalo. That's not going to cut it this week. They're going to really have to get more from their running backs. Can Stidham become that game manager that Sean Payton is so good at developing throughout his career? I'm thinking of Teddy Bridgewater with the Saints when he stepped in 2019 and went 5-0. That's the type of performance we need from Stidham. or Stiddy, as Sean Payton likes to call him. He's really been hyping him up in the media this week, which I don't know, is that for his own confidence or is it true belief in the guy? But
did you hear Vrabel
talking about Stidham?
Yeah, Jesus.
No,
He gave like the best. I haven't got the quote in front of me, but he gave like the most positive / disrespectful answer. I'll find it and get in the second half.
Okay, I've heard Josh McDaniel talking about him, and they have a relationship from the past. Sean Payton's talking about how he routinely sees Stidham frustrate Vance Joseph. So while he's not getting reps with the number one off with the first string offense, he is up against the first string defense week in, week out, and there's not much a bigger test in the NFL than that Denver defense. So look, he hasn't had a snap since 2023, but they seem quietly confident in the guy. You can guarantee the headlines afterwards if it doesn't go to plan, but he's their guy for now. If they can do enough to get him an early lead and that defense can tee off, Benito, Zach Allen, that defensive line, they're so good at getting after the quarterback. And we've seen the issues that Drake May has in terms of fumbling. His rookie left tackle, Campbell, has had a poor postseason. He's given up, I think, maybe 4 sacks. I have the number in front of me, but he has been beaten quite a bit, and May has been caught on the blind side and fumbling the ball. So they're the type of splash plays that that Denver are going to need to create to have a chance at getting this victory. And the other thing I'd say is they'll want to contain Drake May's rushing ability as much as possible, because he's so dangerous at just getting those crucial first downs when he needs it. So can they pressure him? Can they keep him contained? And can they establish that early lead? That's the things that have to go right for Denver to have a chance at winning this one. All that said, I'm probably giving Broncos more of a chance than the average person. I think all 3 of us are, but I'm still taking Patriots every day of the week in this game.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to say there is Jared Stidham coming in as well. Like, Bo Nix has obviously gotten great praise for being able to. You just mentioned Drake May being able to break off a run if he really needs to. I saw something earlier on that was just wild, that coming out of high school in 2015, Jared Stidham was the number 1 ranked rushing or quarterback with his legs, ahead of Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson, who were on that list as well, which is absolutely insane. And not everyone, but a lot of people would be aware that Kyler Murray had an absolutely legendary high school career in Texas, never lost a game in 3 years. So like, Jared Stidham still does have that element of the offense. We obviously haven't seen it, and wasn't something that was taken advantage of, I think, through college, from what I'm aware of. And obviously there hasn't been that NFL experience. But like, Michael, you said that you don't see the number 1 seed going. Like, when the Broncos were last playing for a Super Bowl in San Francisco, it was off the back of a really, really strong defense, and Peyton Manning, who could no longer throw
Brock
the ball.
Osweiler. Yeah, correct. He came in multiple times that season.
So this is like, I think you hit the wording perfectly, Jason, that I'm giving more of a chance to Denver than most people are. I think you'd be still silly to pick against the Patriots, but there's absolutely an avenue where Jared Stidham just has to be a game manager that relays the information perfectly that he's being passed down through his headset from Sean Payton, and just do that perfectly. And the defense has not changed. The defense has been what they were riding for much of the year too.
Time will tell. No other comments? No, we move on.
For the sake of Mr. Jeff Reinbold, who's waiting to do a podcast.
Yes, Jesus.
Michael,
we move on. For everybody on this podcast part, we appreciate the hell out of you folks. Tour going on this weekend. More to come on the Super Bowl plans next week in San Fran from January the 31st-ish, I believe. Excited for it. This game's on Virgin Media, 8 o'clock Sunday. We'll see you on the other side. Rolling on Pro Football Ireland's not college football podcast. I have college football in my brain right now. Pro Football Ireland's National Football League podcast. I need coffee, Mark Hogan, Jason Hayes. It's NFC Championship Sunday. We've got the Rams. We've got the Seahawks in Lumen Field this weekend. A belter of a game. And the big public thanks to Gavin, who I know is listening to this podcast, who's in San Fran. He went to the game for us last weekend. And Mark, no relevance to this game whatsoever, but Lumen Field and the area around it looks beautiful. I asked Gavin to interview Seahawks fans. They were not willing at all. So what I would say to Seahawks fans, Mark, is a bit more conversation. No, a bit more crack.
What was their issue?
They didn't want it. Like they were just. I think they were too nervous. I guess it was a big game, but like the atmosphere just looked incredible. And I guess that's something that we'll talk about in just in this podcast. But I don't know. It's a weird one. Like Jason, I used to be scared of the Seahawks 10 years ago. Like were you the same? Not scared of them, but I really respected them in terms of their defense, the crowd.
No,
Still really do.
I was
Like,
scared. Yeah, I'm a Cardinals fan. I mean that home field advantage they created there in the early 2010s probably hasn't been talked about as much these last 5 years or so. But that you're right to be scared. We saw the best of the best. Tom Brady go there and struggle. You know that defense and that 12th man. It's certainly the earthquake, the Marshall Lynch run. It's a fantastic fan base. You have to give them credit. Another kind of sneaky thing I just saw, which I've kind of noticed throughout the playoffs, but I've only seen it put in a stat form now. This is the first playoffs since 2003 where every single game is going to be outdoors. I'm interested to hear your guys' opinion on that because I'm personally someone who enjoys the elements, the rain, the snow, and how that factors in.
yeah, I love it. Like, yeah, like I don't think any of these new stadiums should be built with a dome. It should at least be an optional roof coming out. There's absolutely no need for any of that. So I fully agree with you on that one. Don't like it. But apparently the Bears are moving to Gary, Indiana, so we will see on that over the next few weeks.
Mark, what do you think?
No, sorry, no. Look, I hate even when they're playing Wimbledon, and in Wimbledon they have a bit of rain during the summertime and close the roof. Let alone when it comes to American football. Now, I don't think games have been too badly affected by it. Now, there's obviously the snow. Chicago. No, actually, no. When you say that, when you have to watch the Patriots or whatever, the stuff we do not appreciate how cold these games are. It was actually my mom texting me being like, it must be awful to play in that. And I was like, Mom, what are you talking about? And it was kind of the rest of the game. I was like, I take for granted way too much just how cold it is in these places. Denver this week now, I did look it up. It's actually right this second as we record. It'd be probably around 2:00 their time right now. It's 12 degrees Celsius. But I've been in Denver and it can be quite cold as well. And we just completely take for granted how bad those conditions are. But yeah, we haven't got a snow game, obviously.
Yeah, in terms of Denver, my beard and eyelashes have both frozen over in the cold. I'm in New York on Monday and it's snowing on Sunday and it's giving -14 on Monday, and this is degrees Celsius. So I'm worried. That's why I said off camera, Mark, that I haven't got time next week because I'm gonna be on my phone like, go away. I can't talk.
I'm looking at the rest of the weather for the rest of the week. So it's 12 degrees Celsius right now. Thursday it'll go into 6 degrees. Friday goes to -5. Saturday goes to -9 before it heats up again to -4 degrees on Sunday. That is insane. We don't know how good we have it over here. That's just Denver. That's not like up in the mountains. That's Denver.
In terms of this game between the Rams and the Seahawks, if the Patriots do win the AFC Championship, we are guaranteed a Super Bowl rematch. Obviously, the Rams and the Seahawks have both played the Patriots before, I believe in the last decade, actually, that game of all time between the Rams and the Seahawks, the Rams and the Patriots. And then we all know what happened the last time the Seahawks played the Patriots, and Richard Sherman lost about 17 years of his life. Who has taken, I think we should go into the Rams here first, lads, and then go into Seattle after, because the Rams are such an intriguing team and just so impressed with the way they got out of Chicago on Sunday night. There's days and moments, lads, where you feel like, God, I don't even care. I'm staying up late. That was an absolute classic. And anybody now at this point that's getting up in the morning and watching the highlights needs to take a very, very good look at themselves. That's all I'm going to say. I'm joking. I want to see these boys' reaction here because I know they're doing it. So.
I know I'm going to miss the second half of the NFC Championship game on Sunday. So.
Yeah.
Who has the Rams? Have you the Rams, Jason?
Yeah. I've taken a look at the Rams. It's been hard work to get to this point, hasn't it? I think even Sean McVay was doubting that they'd be here halfway through the game in Chicago, because the Rams have not been at their best in this playoffs. I think that's that can't be argued. They got past the Panthers, which, to be fair, the Panthers played out of their skin that day. And the Rams still did enough to just fend them off. But against the Bears, that really feels like they stole one against the Bears. As I was watching that game the whole way through, I was, almost in shock that it came down to what it did, because it seemed like the Bears were moving the ball so much better. But but that's where the experience of the coaching staff and the quarterback all fed in. It's been ugly. We're talking about Stafford as an MVP candidate, but it hasn't been there in the postseason to a large degree. He's actually only completed 56% of his passes over the last 5 games. And that 0 touchdown game against Chicago was his first game of the year with no touchdown. Part of those struggles then is Puka Nacua being shut down, just 56 yards against the Bears. And we saw what a big impact he had when these two teams last faced off in week 16. Nacua went for over 200 yards in that game and 2 touchdowns. So, it sounds obvious, but he's a key guy to look at. What sort of success will he have against Seattle? You know full well McDonald is going to come out with a good game plan to stop him, and they're going to go all out to stop Puka Nacua. So I wouldn't expect the same type of production. I think we're going to have to see more from the tight ends, from Devontae Adams, who's kind of steadily just regressed as the season's gone on. He is aging, and I think the season's warning him. So we'd like to see a bit more of an impact from him. But crucially, I think they need to lean more on the run game this week. I think they got away from the run game a bit too much against Chicago. They're actually running the ball pretty well, and Kyren Williams is having a good game. He's having a pretty good latter half to the season. He is. I think they've gotten away from it too much, and too many drives where they've come out, thrown the ball 3 times, especially in the weather conditions we saw in Chicago. And Stafford just couldn't find that groove. So make his life a bit easier as much as we can. And I think the Rams will be feeling better on offense. On defense, what would concern me is the fact that the Seahawks have got that run game going, and a massive part of that run game success has come outside the tackles. I was sitting watching the game against the Bears, and a lot of the Bears' running game success was coming on those outside plays, whether it was a halfback toss or whatever it was. They tended to keep the Bears in second and long, and then the running plays just killed them for 8-9 yards at a go. So they've got to get that sorted out, because we've seen how well Kenneth Walker has been playing lately. Charbonnet is going to be out of this one, but stopping and slowing Kenneth Walker will be a challenge. I do think the Rams will step up more than we saw against the 49ers. 49ers D-line is decimated, whereas the Rams have the likes of Kobe Turner and Poona Ford, 2 great players in terms of stopping the run game. So can they slow down that run game? And if they do, how can they make life difficult for Sam Darnold? Probably haven't seen enough of Jared Verse and Byron Young over the last couple of games. A bit too quiet. So I'd like to see them get Sam Darnold under duress a bit more. It's going to be a very different game to what they had against Caleb Williams. I'd say Darnold he's the anti-Caleb Williams. If Williams scrambles around and makes magic happen and takes 8 seconds to throw the ball, it's going to be the complete opposite with Darnold. It's going to be quick passes, taking what he's given, and just trying to be as efficient as possible. And that's really where the Rams secondary has struggled at times this season. They stepped up last week against Williams, but Williams is just a bit chaotic, let's be honest. So I'm really interested to see how they stand up against a very different type of quarterback and a different offense.
You say he's the anti-Williams, but the one similarity that they have is the, I suppose, boneheaded interceptions that can come. Obviously, Caleb Williams, Bears fans are going to be frustrated with that. But Jason, I like where you're starting with that, but I have to hope the Rams offense can come alive in this game. For context, I think it sounds really cool to cover a Seahawks Super Bowl. I think it'd be a huge storyline for UK fans. Obviously, Aidan Durd is the defensive coordinator there. That's as compelling of a story for them as we have with Charlie Smith over here. But the Seahawks defense... I said defensive. Sorry, excuse me. Aidan Durd, defensive coordinator. Sorry, I thought I said that. But the Seahawks, and that's why what I'm getting at with the Seahawks defense. It is just so, and look, I understand Mike McDonald is the head of that defense before anyone comes at me. I understand that too, but it is massive to have Aidan Durd there. The Seahawks defense, though, is just so suffocating that I think it tanks. It has the potential to tank any of the remaining games, whether that's the Rams, whether that's the Broncos, whether that's the Patriots. I'm rooting for the casuals here, so they don't have to see what we saw the other day against the 49ers. First play of the game, obviously a kickoff return for a touchdown, and the game was just dead and buried for the rest of that. It was an absolute bloodbath. But like you said, Jason, the Rams haven't been the same. They could have lost, I suppose, those games that you're talking about, the Bears and the Panthers. And when you have two 50-50 moments, you typically come out on the losing side of those once. So to say that they get the bounce of the ball against the Seahawks this week again, it's not going to happen. So they're going to have to really be able to win themselves. But all we seem to do the last few weeks is to gush and gush and gush about the Seahawks defense. So I suppose I don't want to go through that all over again. I think, we also know as well that the 49ers were horrendous on Sunday, but we have to also take into account that, say whatever you want about the 49ers, they still were getting it done against top sides. Obviously, they were able to overcome the Eagles the week before. This game, I will say, is worthy of the NFC Championship. The two were jostling for the top two for a few weeks there in a row. They have met twice in the season, 2 points the Rams, one at home. And more recently, the Thursday Night Classic, Seahawks trailed by 13 and won in overtime. So it is a game that I want to look at it. I think it's important because firstly, it was just over a month ago, but because of the absolutely awful Saturday night 49ers game, followed by Sunday's playoff game and the Panthers, it feels like the first time we're really seeing Seattle since that week 16 performance. And that game has changed the complexion of this game. What I mean that Sam Darnold threw an interception in the end zone when they're down 2 scores. The team wasn't even asking him to do it a whole lot. He threw 6 times in the first half. One of the touchdowns was off a 46-yard screen. Another one was a 55-yard run. And then they had a 58-yard punt return for a touchdown. And he still got sacked 4 times. So like what you're saying there, Jason, like they have a quick passing game. He was still able to be quite poor. You did a side-by-side, or if you wished to do a side-by-side of that and the Patriots-Jets seeing ghosts, October, was that a Halloween game back in 2019? If you'd done a side-by-side of side-by-side of Sam Darnold's face, it was the exact same on the sideline with that game back in week 16. But what happens next is just massive. They are able to come back into it. They go into overtime. There's a couple of quality throws, one to Cooper Kupp, another couple to Jackson Smith and Jigba, including for a touchdown. And all of a sudden, he's exercised that label of being a bottler. We aren't facing the questions this week of, the Seahawks haven't beaten the Rams since Sam Darnold has come around here. Because you'll be hearing it. And it's like players do hear about these things that like, oh, Sam Darnold, like you stank in the last game. You lost the tiebreak against the Rams because you played so poorly. When he came back, that gives him a certain level of confidence that he knows he's done it. And I think he's been a different quarterback then since, just because, they have the faith in him to do that. I know it all goes through Jackson Smith and Jigba. I also look at Cooper Kupp in this game. Talk about a revenge game. Jason, you just mentioned Devontae Adams hasn't been seen since this game, probably. Imagine it's Cooper Kupp. Imagine all the attention is going over there to Jackson Smith and Jigba, and it's the final nail in the coffin is given by an all-time great LA Ram, Cooper Kupp, who was gotten rid of last year because they didn't think that he'd be able to last this far into the season, and the replacement, Devontae Adams, wasn't able to get it done.
How exactly am I meant to add to all of that? It's like, Jesus Christ, I think we covered every angle of that game, bar special teams or something.
Well, you can take the Seahawks defense if you want to, dude.
Now that you say special teams, Mick, the Rams have struggled on special teams, and Seahawks are one of the best in the league. That's one thing they can afford. What we saw against the 49ers, and they had that kickoff return touchdown straight away. We always talk about the offensive defense, but if there's any game to look out for special teams plays, Mark, you mentioned the punt return touchdown in week 16. This is a week to just keep an eye on that side of the ball.
The way that Harrison Mevis played against the Bears last week in terms of the pressure he was under at the end of the game can only help stead him as well going forward. Sorry, Mark.
Did you throw up the comment by Jer there about Charbonnet being out, the running back Charbonnet? And it's like, Kenneth Walker is a bit more boomer bust, but I don't think the game comes down to it, though, does it? Like, they have been running the ball a lot better. I don't think the game comes down to the run game of the Seahawks.
For me, and look, I think anybody that watched the first 15 minutes on Sunday night will know just how much of a factor momentum is in Seattle when you get going. Doesn't matter if it's the Seattle Seahawks or the Seattle Sounders or whoever. The fans love their team. They make themselves heard. They're loud. And the players really, really buy into that. I think for me, the way that they decimated San Francisco, like forget about San Francisco being poor, whatever. Like they they played them off the field last week. Like, there is no doubt about it. And I guess the biggest question mark for me going into this game is, can they repeat that again? Will they completely silence Matthew Stafford? And you're talking about, like, one of the keys to the game, but Charbonnet maybe not be in there. For me, it's that combination of Kyron Williams and former Michigan national champion running back Blake Corum. When Stafford is down and out, when he's not getting plays together, when he's not connecting with Puka, not connecting with Higbee or Parkinson or whoever's there, because he's got such an offensive arsenal. At that time in this game on Sunday night, how is he going to hand it off? Will the run schemes be there? Will the space be there? I think that is going to be key. We know McVay will go for it if the opportunity presents itself. This is going to be like a chess match. Every move, every play is going to be fascinating. And I just pray to God, and I don't have any disrespect on the AFC Championship at all. We've talked about it in the first part of this podcast, but we deserve a classic again on Sunday in this game. I know we got one in the first day football game in week 16 or whatever. We deserve for this game to go down to the wire. And frankly, if it does that, whoever wins the game, in terms of whoever picks it up at the end, will win and will deserve to go to the Super Bowl. And I had this conversation with somebody on WhatsApp earlier on. This is, for me, the Super Bowl on Sunday night. I think whoever wins this game will win the Super Bowl. We should not be having that conversation, but I think that's where we are right now. For me, it's the manner in which both teams, Sam Darnold, all the question marks before kickoff last Sunday, the way they went out and efficiently played and killed the Niners. The Rams, Stafford going into the cold, wet weather in Chicago, the way that Rams team stuck together on both sides of the ball, that defense for the Rams can make big plays at big moments. For me, this is the Super Bowl on Sunday night.
And it can't be
I love the going to bed.
21-19 when they met in middle of November, and then that classic was 38-37. So the Seahawks defense was well on our radar at that point. So they were able to get the points up on them. It's just, I've just seen that the trajectory from the Seahawks ever since, as they got lightning hot from the moment that they got that comeback going, and then they concede the touchdown in overtime, and they know they have to drive the field. Now this whole, protect Sam Darnold, he doesn't have to throw the ball. He does. He has to go up the other end of the field and score that touchdown. That's why it's so powerful to me, because not only do they score the touchdown, they say, screw this, we're going to go for the 2 points as well. We're not giving the Rams the ball back to potentially win this thing against us. So I just think from that, the level of confidence, and that's why I said we haven't really had to watch them now again since, because they played the Panthers, got rid of them easy. We did have that stinker of a Saturday night game, and then they just decimated the 49ers the other day. Maybe that's it. Maybe they'll go a bit cold when they have to meet an actual talent here against the Rams. I haven't seen one since the 16th of December, but I just think, talk about teams that got hot at the right time. I think it would take an injury to Jackson Smith and Jigba to really derail this thing for them on the offense.
Who have we got winning this game?
Seahawks, definitely. I think Seahawks could have a bigger win against the Rams than the Patriots against the Broncos.
Wow. I think Seattle must feel so rested, by the way, in comparison to LA. Like, just, they had the bye week. Last week was a dawdle. They even had an extra night's rest after last weekend. Rams are going to feel battered getting into this game. But I don't know. I think the Rams had that game in control in week 16, and they let it slip against the Seahawks. They beat them a few weeks prior. I have a sneaky feeling Sean McVay, the last time they won a Super Bowl, it wasn't pretty. They got through a lot of ugly games, and they snuck a few wins. I think they might get to the Super Bowl again with that same style.
Hell, watch the last 5 minutes of that Super Bowl back and ask yourself that question again. For me, it's easy. Matthew Stafford legacy game Sunday night. I think Stafford retires in 2 weeks. I think he wins the Super Bowl and retires. That's the storyline that I'm now painting in my head over the next little while. In terms of storylines, what's the one storyline, lads, we'll be talking about Monday morning as we round this off? Mark,
Joe, this isn't supposed to be mine, but as we talk about it there, if we can have a Rams-Broncos Super Bowl because the two teams played in London this year, I think that'd be fantastic, just because so many fans this side of the world would be able to claim, oh yeah, I saw them in their Super Bowl year, especially the fans who were able to go to that game. It is funny, those two teams obviously played in London. Aidan Durd is the defensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks. There'll be plenty of London interest if they're able to get that across the line. But yeah, the thing that I said is definitely the quarterbacks, because it's the glass half empty, glass half full. We saw CJ Stroud, what's been happening to him in the last few days. It seems he'll never throw another ball in the NFL. He played so poorly the other day. Caleb Williams has an absolutely magical moment to get his team back on a Hail Mary of a play, really. And because of the lasting taste in your mouth is going to be that interception afterwards. What I mean in terms of this week, I think it's set up so perfectly that these guys have narratives stacked against them. Revisionist history will be in full play. If Sam Darnold doesn't win, it'll be said that he, was not the quarterback that should have been signed, that, he's been coasting on the back of Jackson Smith and Jigba and a defense. I think Matthew Stafford, he'll be blamed for LA's drop-off over the last few weeks, that, he wasn't able to keep it going, even though I think that's unfair. Jared Stidham, I think, will actually have a problem with, and this could be a valid one now, I think this will really be it. Why did the Broncos, I think they have only 13 million spent on quarterback this year. Why did they not have a quality backup for their quarterback? And it's something that actually translates into the likes of the Patriots. It is these teams that are benefiting off, and Sam Darnold isn't being paid top tier money either. Teams are taking advantage of the surrounding talent, but that's what ultimately could cost John Payton here if Jared Stidham stinks. And then Drake May has to worry about, when he plays a good defense, is he able to overcome it? The team wide, are they able to do it? So I think there is some very juicy and obvious quarterback storylines that are inevitably going to come out of these games, whoever loses.
Who you got, Jason? Storyline?
Kind of similar to Mark, looking more long term and focusing just on Drake May. A bit of hyperbole here, but I think the talking point on Monday, if Drake May gets to win, is Drake May going to be the next Tom Brady? We know Tom Brady won a Super Bowl in the second season. May is going to be 3-0 in the playoffs if he gets to win. He's probably a better quarterback. He is a better quarterback right now than Tom Brady was in his second year. I think it's going to be, is he the next Mahomes? Is he the next Brady? Is he going to go on that type of run? On the other side, because the media are so cutthroat, I think the first question being asked if he doesn't get the win is he the next AFC bridesmaid? Is he a Josh Allen? Is he a Lamar Jackson? If you're not going to get a better chance to make a Super Bowl than this Sunday against Jared Stidham-led Broncos. So if the Patriots don't get it done, if May in particular doesn't get it done, because he has shown signs of struggle these last couple of games, we all know Mahomes is going to be back. All the rest of them, they're going to be back strong next year. Was this May's chance? And every year that he loses a playoff game from here on, if he loses this one, it's going to be the same narrative. It's going to be the Josh Allen. Can he get it done? Why can he not get it done? So, two ways of looking at it. He's going to either be hyped up or torn down.
Do you know, one thing I'll hop on there, I think you're dead right. This is the opportunity. But when you see the coaching carousel circle, coaching interviews going on at the moment, you don't see a whole lot of names coming up from New England. Isn't that the thing, that Josh McDaniel was the one that, because he was not able to do it anywhere? And I know they're only 1 year into the staffing under Vrabel, but yeah, the likes of the Broncos are likely to lose Vance Joseph, etc. That the Patriots might be in a better spot just because, this thing hits so fast that they do have they're kind of like the Lions, is a 3-year window for them. But I agree with everything you're saying otherwise.
Just to wrap up, mine is probably non-Super Bowl related on Monday, but I look at the NIL in college football and I know that it's capped at $20.5 million per year with a bonus. This one's for all the Raiders fans. I think everyone knows where I'm going here. Monday night last week, Al Davis, Tom Brady, Raiders executive, standing watching Fernando Mendoza for Indiana before they won a national championship. Mark Cuban was opposite them. He's a high-profile donor, former alumni of Indiana, obviously a billionaire. I think he maxes his offer for NIL for 2026, and Mendoza commits one more year in college football, and the Raiders do not get the guy they want under center in 2026.
Michael, that is hot.
That is hot. I may have seen it on Twitter and jumped on it about 6 hours ago, but I think that is such a storyline because they have money falling out of their back end. And for now, that's all I have to say. We hope you enjoy the see Jared saying Rams Broncos no chance of a novel Super Bowl. Trev, well done your stream last night. Hello, I hope you're well. Congrats, Michael, and your Broncos reaching the AFC Championship game. I'm very sorry for Winnick's injury. Best luck, my friend. Thank you, sir. Big weekend. Jeff has just entered the StreamYard podcast coming up. Mark, Jason, we'll see you very, very soon, sir. Thanks for all your efforts. Thanks for everything.
Hey, no, Michael, we will see you again. Let's just say we won't be back doing live podcast next week because we'll have so many Super Bowl week. So see you in San Francisco, and best luck with the live shows in between then and now.
Thank you. More to come on that schedule and stuff over the next few days. Check out the SBK comments, links as well. Big thanks to Mark and Jason. And have a good weekend, everyone. Enjoy it. Okay, great. We are still live. I'm going to hit this button here. And I'm going to add Jeff into this chat. Oh, God, hold on. I'm all over the shop. Jeff's in the shop. You can't see it. Jeff, look at this.
See this? This is a winter. This is a winter jacket. You can shit can that background.
What do you mean? I'm not the producer for your background. You need to fix it yourself. I don't know what you're doing. It's all good.
Here, Jeff, congrats on Virgin Media. Couldn't say last week because it was live or whatever. Congrats on Virgin Media. Looking forward to watching it back or something afterwards.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Are you going to be in Santa Clara?
He's not going.
Yeah, we'll be there. Oh no, not gone. I didn't get the call up when they looked back in the footage. They said Jeff was the number one that we wanted in the broadcast. Mike was number two, and then I never got a text. So I've been gone. I need to get on the
Don't feel too down about that, Mark.
Here, you used to go off and have a chat off camera about that document, and I'll chat to you boys soon.
Right,
there you go, Jeff. We'll talk. Jeff, we are live if you want to sit down. This is good value, Jeff. This is good value. Jeff, it's that time of the season where I haven't made a graphic for your show, but we have a conference championship one. It's SBK's podcast. We're going to make our picks. Do you want to go, my friend?
Let's go. Let's go. It is time to go.
Go for it.
Hey, aloha, everybody. This is Jeff Reinbold. We are live tonight on the Jeff Reinbold Show, and we are talking about maybe my favorite weekend. And I really mean this, Mike. I think I like the championship round more than I like the Super Bowl because we get four teams playing, 2 games, 2 monstrous games.
Big games, big weekend. It's hard to believe, Jeff. We're here, AFC, NFC Championship. I will disagree with you. I think like wildcard division is better, and certainly this year because one game's big. I mean, they're both big games. Don't get me wrong, but like as a football fan, you feel for Bo Nix, and we'll go into the AFC Championship in a minute. You had some big news the other day, man. How are you feeling? Are you good?
I'm good, man. I'm really, really good. We are going to be live from Santa Clara. You and I are going to be working for Virgin Media, and we're going to be doing the Super Bowl. I cannot wait. That is going to be a blast of a time, and all of Ireland better tune in.
They better tune in. Because I'm going to have a live show with Reynolds this weekend, and I'm going to say to the crowd, who's watching us then? And see other I was going to joke saying, put us on, put Neil on mute, have both on. No, look, man, seriously, I think in all seriousness, an honour would not be here without you, and I can't think of anybody better to do it with. I think we're going to have great fun. I promise you I'm going to shave my beard beforehand. One thing that we can let people know, Jeff gets into San Fran Thursday evening, local time. At the very, very minimum, we will be live for at least 1 hour on the Friday, but we'll probably do a podcast as well on the Thursday, depending on what. I don't know what I have to do. It's changed now. TV's a bit mad, so like we'll work it out. But at the very, very least, me and Jeff have a podcast on the Friday, and then we go into a little bit of a hiatus. I have got a date, Jeff, for our comeback. If you want to hear it live in this podcast, the plan is to come back Friday the 20th of March, just after St. Patrick's Day. That's the plan. Now, are we okay with that? Or are you like, come on, like, let's go?
Hey,
guess who's coming to Dublin at the end of February?
Who?
Well, I don't know for sure, right? But at the end of every February, they always bring in the AD and like the head coach for the college team that's coming to Dublin.
Coach Belichick.
Could you imagine if Belichick comes into that? So I will say this: if the opportunity arises, the podcast will return. But you never know. But yeah, I think 20th of March is good to recharge the batteries, Jeff. I'm going to go out to the draft at least the first night, and I'm all in, man. But no, look, I'm so happy for you. I think you deserve the opportunity. You've done it for so long in terms of being on TV. And I know the guys at TalkSport are and continue to be so good. not just to you but to us as well. And but I think it's going to be good to see on TV, man. And I would say for people that are not sure how to watch it, I'm sure we'll be able to get clips up. I know the social team will work behind the scenes and getting that up and stuff. But I think I'm speaking as a fan here. I think it's a huge coup for fans across Ireland. And Jeff, just think of the amount of people that have maybe never watched the NFL before that will be putting the TV on, a cup of tea, and seeing your bake and my bake on the screen. It's exciting. And look, if this is the one opportunity we have, man, I'm going to take it every hand I have and go for it. So I'm so excited for it. What sweets or goods do you want over from Ireland is the question.
Oh, hey, listen, you got to bring Tato, right? You got to bring Tato.
Do you want Tato? I don't think we can eat it on TV, but like we're certainly up for it if you want. I don't mind. Like it's grand. How are you feeling ahead of the weekend? Are you optimistic? Because for me, it's like, and I'm not talking as a fan here. I'm talking as an analyst. Pretty gutted with the Bo Nix news. I don't want to sit here and say that I think the game's a dud. It's not a dud at all. We know how good the Broncos are, but it takes away from it, man. Like there's no other point in saying otherwise. Like Denver win with Nix, fine. What a game, unbelievable. Buffalo wins. I know we're going to do a mini podcast after this, after our picks. So we'll talk about McDermott then. But if Buffalo win, whole different ball game going into this weekend. Oh my God, Josh Allen, Drake May, AFC East, and now we get Jared Stidham, and it's like I'm happy for the Broncos. Like I'm delighted to be honest with you, but like I feel like we needed a bit more of a spark, and it's a bit disappointing. And it's like, oh, like are you disappointed or what?
I'm not disappointed because I think it's another storyline. I mean, think about this: who drafted Jared Stidham?
Belichick? No. Who drafted him? Why did I think he was drafted to the Patriots? Sorry.
He's a Josh McDaniel guy, right? So now again, this is going to be really interesting because already I've heard Vrabel say that they've grilled they grilled Josh about, okay, tell me about what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses of Stidham. So I think it's going to be fascinating. And think about this, it's so perfect for Sean Payton because Sean Payton really is one of the most confident guys that I know. And he believes that I'm sure he believes he can get Stidham ready to play. Stidham hasn't only taken a knee, one play all season. He took a knee in one game, and that's all he's done all season. So this will be the first pass he throws in anger since training camp. And I think that'll be fascinating to watch. But again, Sean Payton, I'm sure, loves it because it takes the pressure off. They can go out and play, right? And he'll do a good job of managing his play calls, and they've got to run the ball. They got, it's going to be a different kind of game. But what Denver has done all year long is what? Find a way to win. And now this is, again, 2 more times they have to find a way to win. They got to find a way to win this week at home, against a good New England team. But they've answered the question and they've answered the call all year long. Can they do it 2 more weeks? That to me is the story.
With SBK, obviously we are presented by SBK 18 plus. Please be gamble aware, and it's obviously a big weekend. We've only got 3 more games left in the NFL season, folks. There is a bonus offer on each game this weekend, so do check it out. And a big thanks to them for their support. Apparently, they've sent us mugs, Jeff, to San Fran. So excited to drink a cup of tea. I'll bring some tea bags for you. Patriots 1.41 on the money line. Broncos as far out as 3.00. Very, very high, but we all know why. Who wins this game and why, Jeff? For the punters listening to this podcast.
Well, I think obviously you gotta say New England should be favored, and they should be favored, and they're playing really well. They played really good defense. They do enough offensively. You got a guy in Drake May that survived not playing very well last week until it made a huge throw in the second half, an all or nothing throw that his guy or no guy. And, that's what you have to do to win championships. You got to make plays at the perfect time. And whether it was, we all watched the incredible win by Indiana University against Miami, and Fernando Mendoza did not have his greatest game, but at the key moment, what did he do? He ran that draw, ran through the linebacker, got in the end zone, and won the football game. That's what the playoffs is. That's what playoff football is. So for Drake May, he's got to go in. He's got to protect the ball. They can't turn it over, and it's going to be a really, really good defense he's playing this week. Now, he played a great defense last week and struggled. So he's got to play better. They got to protect the ball. Interesting, Mike, last week, and I think this is something that people need to really pay attention to, is the turnover ratio and the turnover battle. Last week, in all 4 games, the team that turned the ball over the most lost the football game. And that's very, very typical in playoff football. So that's where I think the edge, more than the fact that Bo Nix isn't there, it's the fact that Stidham has not played. And is he going to be conditioned? Because protecting the ball is a conditioned response for a quarterback. Now, he's been in the pocket throwing in practice the reps that he gets, but they don't hit you in practice. Is he conditioned for contact? He hasn't taken any contact all year long. So I think that's where the edge goes to New England, because both these teams play great defense. Both these teams can run the football. Both these teams have threats outside. But who's going to protect the ball? And I got to believe that Drake May, because he's conditioned to contact, is in a better position to protect the football.
It's really interesting, because I was looking at SBK, I sort of seeing a bit of value this weekend. And when you look at Stidham and you think, he might be relying on this run game, you can get guys like RJ Harvey's 2.74 for an over 0.5 rushing touchdown. So, for example, you could look at a situation where, well, that's nearly the same odds as the Broncos winning this game. So something like that there could work. You're obviously going to have some inflated lines because of that there, but certainly good value to be had. Jar Stidham's 1.83 for over 193.5 passing yards. The line for Drake May just under in terms of the odds, 229.5 yards. Jeff, I agree with what you're saying. It is very, very difficult to look past New England in this game. Are we both in agreement that it's probably the money line for New England here at the moment?
Yeah, I would be really, really surprised if Jarrett Stidham passed for 200 yards in this game. I don't think.
So you think under 189.5? That's interesting.
Yeah, I do, because here's the thing. Bo Nix wasn't hanging big numbers, right? This is a balanced offense. Now it's going to be even more balanced because of the fact that they're going to have to run the ball more. And think about who's on the other side of you. You're talking about a New England team that loves to play ball control football and, win the time of possession. So when you don't get as many chances, then it's hard to throw for a number of yards, right? Unless he hits a big play. So I would be, if it was me, I would say I'd take that under on that 193.
The I-193. Okay. NFC champ, baby. Jeff's on the East Coast now, so this is late for him as well. Rams, Seahawks. We know, and people listen to this podcast, and you're obviously very, very welcome. If you're on the SBK app and you maybe don't listen to this you podcast, search Pro Football Ireland or search Jeff Reinbold Show. You can listen to it every week during the season, and to be honest with you, for most of the year as well. On the money line, Jeff, Rams 2.24, Seahawks 1.71, but the over and under in this game is 42 points, and the Seahawks are favored. They've got a -7.5 on the handicap at 2.96. That's very interesting value. They're not favored like that. That's not the actual line, but you can get them at 2.5 on the handicap, -2.5 at 1.91. If you like the Seahawks, you must like those odds, especially after the way they played against the Niners last weekend, Jeff, because they absolutely stormed out, didn't they?
They were outstanding, and they bludgeoned San Francisco. I mean, they just beat San Francisco down. That defense, Aiden Dirta's defense, is extremely good. This is a number one defense against the number one scoring offense. Number one scoring defense against the number one scoring offense. I think this is really going to be an interesting game. I think, Mike, and we talk about the running game and how important. These are two teams that like to run the football. Seattle loves to run the football. The Rams love to run the football. And, you've got two really good running backs. And who has the best day, right? I think the thing that's a little bit concerning to me is Seattle loses their big back. Charbonnet's out, and now I think that's going to hurt them a little bit. Can Kenneth Walker carry the entire load? He's a big play guy. He's averaging over 5 yards a carry in the two games that they played. So I think he's going to be the key for the Seahawks. Obviously, Sam Darnold can't make mistakes with the football, and that's what he stayed away from. But I thought that Kubiak, the offensive coordinator for Seattle, did a great job of calling the game for him and keeping Sam out of trouble. Now, the Rams, if the Rams can stop the run and get him into second and third and long, that's where they can do damage to him. He has thrown 6 interceptions in 2 games against the Rams defense, and they've sacked him a couple times. Their secondary is playing really well. They had 3 picks last week. So I think it's going to be really, really critical for Seattle to establish Kenneth Walker and then run the play action in the pass game, be heavy into the play action stuff. Barner, the tight end, I think is going to be a big key in that part of it too. Smith and Jigba off of play action. They may take a shot or two early in the game to try and back the Rams off a little bit, but I think that's going to be interesting. The Seahawks offensive line is healthy, and it's, I think they're primed for a day where they just pound away at that Ram front. And, for the Rams, they can score points. They scored 21 the first time they played, a 21-19 game, and then they scored over 30 the second time they played and really collapsed in the fourth quarter. But Puka Nacua was dynamic. He had over 200 yards the last time they played. Devontae Adams didn't play the last time, Michael, and that I think is he's set to explode. I would be surprised if he doesn't have a big game in this game.
2.4 on the exchange, or just on the odds with SBK for any time touchdown, Jeff. One guy I like in terms of the odds, I'm looking at the odds going, how can I make a bit of pre-Super Bowl coin? Obviously, a Team Plus, please be gamble aware. Cooper Kupp's nearly 4-1. Anytime touchdown score against his old team. This could be Cooper's time to shine. If everyone's on Puka and Devontae, well, someone's going to be open.
Yeah, I mean, Cooper Kupp he's a big player. He's a guy that plays well in big games, and this is a huge game for him because this is his old employer, and it's a chance to get back to a Super Bowl. And obviously for him being a Seattle kid, a Washington kid, it's even bigger than that. So, he's playing at home. This is a huge game for him. There's a lot on the line for him, and I'm sure he'll come out and he'll play extremely well.
Time will tell what happens. I'm looking at the CFL odds for 2026, Jeff. Ottawa 12.5 to 1 to win it. We're going to have a chat with SBK about that there. Obviously, wish you the very, very best luck with that there. Who is your Super Bowl lineup at the minute, Jeff? My heart says Denver against Seattle for a rematch. My head says a Stafford masterclass against Drake May. Who have you got, man?
I just really think that it's going to be such a tall task for the Rams. Think about the Rams. They've gone on the road now. This will be 3 weeks in a row on the road. And you know how hard it is to win in the regular season on the road. Now, it's even more difficult to win in the playoffs on the road. Lumen Field is one of the hardest places to play in the National Football League. So obviously that's going to be up against them. And, I love Matthew Stafford. I mean, I think Matthew Stafford is maybe the best throwing quarterback, best quarterback in the league. He's not the best player in the league, but he's the best quarterback in the league. And, it's hard for me to go against him, but at home with that defense and, as physical as they can be, those Seahawks can be, if Sam doesn't turn it over, I think the Seahawks win in a very, very close game.
I love it. Time will tell what happens. Folks, check out SBK's app. There's a bonus this weekend. We really, really appreciate the support from them. We'll ask people to click the link. It makes a big, big difference to us. We're obviously live in San Fran in about 2 weeks' time. We don't have a podcast next week. I'm in New York next week. If something happens, Jeff, we will, but got a plan, got a prep for San Fran, a big, big week coming up, and we are looking forward to meeting in person, doing that live podcast minimum for SBK, obviously, and PFI, and then on Virgin Media on the Sunday as well. For everyone listening, folks on the SBK app and obviously on the Pro Football Ireland podcast network, we really, really appreciate you. Jeff, can you see us out, my friend, for this podcast?
Yes, I will. I will see you out. I will say aloha and thank you very much for joining us tonight live on SBK, brought to you by the Pro Football Ireland network of podcasts every week. See you at the Super Bowl.
Okay, my friend, if you want to, we can do a quick recap pod now if you got time. Are you busy?
Yeah, let's do it.
I've got like 20 minutes, 18,
All
20
right.
minutes. So, okay,
Are
let's
we
go.
taking questions in this one?
I've got questions. So,
All right.
Okay. Just you start us off whenever you're ready, my friend.
Recap of last week. Is that what you want?
Yeah, I guess more to follow, head coaches and stuff. McDaniel's just been announced as well. So.
Okay. Aloha, everybody. This is Jeff Reinbold. I'm joined by Michael McQuaid. This is the Jeff Reinbold Show, brought to you by SBK on the Pro Football Ireland network of podcasts. And we are here talking NFL news and notes and looking back at last week. We've got a podcast coming at you, looking forward to next week. But we're taking questions and we're live on SBK, the Pro Football Ireland network of podcasts.
Jeff, my friend, you are very, very welcome. It's good to see you again. Jeff, folks, if people don't know this, on the East Coast, FaceTime me today at 12:04 p.m. and I nearly died. I was like, hold on, Jeff, what's going on here? Jeff, my question for you is obviously presented by SBK. Big thanks to them, folks. Please check out the link in the bio. Big bonus this weekend makes a big difference to us. Sportsbook only, nothing more than that there. Big bonus, Championship Sunday. Check it out. And thanks for your support, folks. And Jeff, my question for you, my friend, is this. What is a red black?
Okay. I knew you were going to ask me that question, right? And so I asked yesterday, right? This is a very old franchise, right? And it was initially called the Rough Riders, but there is another team in the league with the same nickname, the Saskatchewan Rough Riders. Saskatchewan Rough Riders. And for years, there were two teams in the league with the same name. One was spelled Rough Riders, one word, and the other was Rough Riders. Now, when this team was sold and bought by a new ownership group in the I think it was 2014, they rebranded and renamed the team, and they opened it up for fans to, make a choice. And this part of Ontario, where Ottawa is the nation's capital, and it's also a big lumbering area. And in the old days, they would cut trees down and they would float them down the river to the sawmills, right? And so, in honor of the lumberjacks, who typically wore red and black plaid shirts and were referred to as Red Blacks, they got the name Red Black, and it stuck, and the fans voted it in, and so we are the Red Blacks. And Mike, it's really interesting. If you come to a game and we score a touchdown, in the end zone, there's a guy with a chainsaw. They have a big log in the end zone. There's a guy with a chainsaw, and he cuts off what they call a puck, which is about a 2-inch thick piece of wood. They cut it off, and then they give it to a fan. They award it to a fan as a memento of that touchdown. So it's really a pretty cool thing. So you'll hear that we'll score a touchdown, and it's unique. It's a very unique situation because the game is broadcast and announced in both French and English because we're right on the Quebec border. So there's a big French population here. And so they'll say touchdown by whatever, and then, I can't speak French, so I don't even know what touchdown is in French, but then they'll announce it, and then all of a sudden, vroom, they fire up the chainsaws and go, and then they cut off a puck and give it to a fan.
Oh, I can't believe that just happened. Sweet Jesus. That was incredible. I'm sorry. I need to make a reel out of that at some point. I don't know how we're going to do it. This is a bit of a... We will come back to that. We've loads of time. Don't worry. I hope you're having a good time over there as well, man. I've seen a really fancy, sexy picture of you sitting down, getting into it. Like, oh, okay.
I look tired, man. I'm so tired. I've been flying so much. I don't even know what day it is.
I literally, somebody asked me, like, how you doing? I was like, I don't know what day it is, man. That's how I feel at the minute as well. It's a good time of the year, though. Excited to see you very, very soon as well. Bit of a blitz podcast. We have got we've got 4 questions from fans, and then we got to jump off. But I will ask you one question first off, Jeff. Surprised with the Sean McDermott news earlier in the week with the Buffalo Bills, because I know we had listeners looking to hear about that. And just apologies, it's just one of those weeks. I have a live tour coming up. There's a lot going on. Jeff's in Canada, but we're here now. You're not too far from Buffalo. What's your fault?
No, and you know what? I have really, really, really mixed feelings about that. And I like Sean McDermott. I think he's a really fine football coach, and I think he did an unbelievable job in Buffalo, not only with coaching the football team, but he galvanized that city. He really did. And they fell in love with him, and he embraced the community, and he did everything right except one thing. He couldn't get to the Super Bowl. And that's the bottom line. And so, yes, I was surprised. No, I'm not surprised, I guess is the best way for me to say it, because initially I was like, what are they doing? And then as more and more the story came out, then I realized that there was more to it. There always is more to it than just what's on the surface. And I think that the one thing I would say about the whole deal is, if I was advising Mr. Pegula, I would tell him to not say another word. You don't have to speak. You don't have to try and justify, because all you do is get yourself in deeper trouble. Because by trying to justify firing Coach McDermott, he really made it very difficult for the receiver, Keon Coleman, who he threw under the bus, and, you know, made it look like the GM didn't want to. So, I mean, there's going to be some making up that's got to go on in that relationship real fast. And I think he really did a disservice to his football team, because remember, those guys are in the community. Those guys read the newspaper. They check Twitter. They go to Instagram. They go to NFL.com, Pro Football Talk, all of it, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, some of them even listen to this show. And, you know, I'm just telling you that is not a good look for the owner. And the best thing an owner can say is nothing. And this is where owners get themselves in trouble. And I think Brandon Beane, same way. Brandon Beane, you don't have to justify anything. Now, did he stab Sean McDermott in the back? I wouldn't be surprised, because that happens all the time. It happens all the time in industry. It happens all the time in football. But if he did, you don't have to justify what you did. You don't have to, you know, bring your wife into it, that she was in tears the other day when you came home. And do not say a word. You're not the fans, and we are not entitled to that, right? You're not responsible to them. You're responsible to the organization. You're responsible to the owner, to the team. And that's all I'm going to say.
And I would say, for anybody wanting more on that or looking for an example of that, go and watch Art Rooney's press conference after the Tomlin situation last week, and look at how he handled the questions and how little information he gave away in a positive way. So we will see. A few questions, Jeffrey, my friend. Justin saying, actually, well, Jer says, is Jeff in Salt Hill? You're not in Salt Hill.
No.
Salt Hill's not that sunny at the minute. Funny thing, Jeff was wearing a coat at the start of this podcast. I said, get that off, man.
And I'm going to get a coat back on as soon as we get done with this podcast.
Are you cold right now? God help you.
If you that backdrop is my house, right? that is not where I'm at right now. If I went outside and I showed you what's outside right now, it is 6 feet high and white. It is snow.
We're actually not too far from each other next week. I don't know if you can get to New York for a day, but I'm in New York all week next week. The biggest investment I made this season was not Fernando Mendoza or Kurt Stignetti. It was this. Oh my God.
A heater?
You know what 35 degrees Celsius is in Fahrenheit. And this bad boy has kept me going I'm hugging it, but it's kept me going for the last 2 months. And it's fantastic. Anyway, back to the football talk. Justin Jeff is asking, Jeff, if you were Sean Payton and it's only a maximum of 2 games, would you pick up Ryan Tannehill, Cam Newton, or Colin Kaepernick, even if it's just to have an experienced backup quarterback, or would you stick with the current situation, Stidham, and I can't pronounce the other guy's name. It sounds like Erdinger or the German beer. I could never pronounce it. I'm just going to put it out there. So.
I think those things are kind of grasping at last straws. I mean, if you are absolutely,
it's too late.
Desperate. Those guys are not in shape. They haven't thrown. They don't know the offense. They don't know the terminology. I think it's the best thing you can do is have the least amount of upheaval you can have, especially now. If you bring in one of those guys, you bring in the sideshow that comes with it. And again, I think now is not a time for circus acts. Now is a time to, next man up, get your guy ready as you can get him. Hey, he's on your roster. He's getting paid. He's been on your roster all year. He's sat in the meetings. He's been on the practice field. Now it's time for him to step up. And I think if Jarrett Stidham goes into this with the right mental framework, if he goes into it with the idea that, hey, I'm playing with house money, nobody gives me a chance, nobody thinks I can get this done, and protects the football, right? I'm not talking about going in there and just going crazy. I'm talking about go in there, protect the football, Sean will make it easy for him as he can, give him as simple a throws as he can make, and protect him, and try and get out of there, try and eke yourself a win at home. You got the crowd with you, right? I mean, this is not out of the question, right? There was a time, I think, Michael, I can't give you the exact year or exact date or whatever, but the Baltimore Colts, I think it was in the late 60s or early 70s, had a situation where they lost Johnny Unitas and Earl Morrall, both quarterbacks, right? And Tom Matte, the running back, had to come in and play quarterback to win a game. And he did it. And so, again, everybody's going to have to pull a little harder on the oar, and everybody's going to have to do a little bit more. But, this is what dreams are made of.
Kenny Pickett has a ring. That's all I'm going to say. I'll keep going. Gus, head coach, the draft coming up. Who do you see the Jets taking it to, assuming Mendoza is gone? Being Reese or someone else?
I think the Jets need to take the best player on the board at 2 and not overdraft a quarterback. Because if Mendoza goes to the Raiders, which everybody thinks is going to happen, because Mark Davis was at the game the other day, right?
There's another Mark with a lot of money, though, Mark Cuban.
Yeah. Mark Cuban has said that he's willing to pay him first-round money to keep him in school. How about that? And but regardless, if he does go off the board, then the Jets have to think, we've got to take the best player available. There's not another quarterback, in my opinion, that is worth the second pick in the draft. There are some pass rushers in this draft that are worth the second pick in the draft, and that's the direction that I would go.
Okay, we got time for a couple more quick ones here. Ryan saying, Jeff, how big is a concern is it for the Niners losing Robert Saleh again, considering the job he did with limited resources this year? Yes, Saleh off to different pastures this week. I haven't even mentioned Harbour as well. A lot going on in the league this week.
Yeah, and I think that good for Robert Saleh. He gets a chance again. He gets a second chance, and hopefully he'll do better than he did with the Jets. This is a tough situation. I mean, Tennessee is a tough situation. Yes, he has a quarterback, but he doesn't have much else, and they're going to have to rebuild that thing. I think I think what Shanny learned. I think what Shanahan learned losing Robert Saleh the first time was that you better have somebody in house ready to bring in, and he has Gus Bradley there, and so Gus has been a defensive coordinator. He's from the Seattle system. He understands when you go back and look at the footage of when he signed Robert Saleh when he first came to San Francisco, he talked about he wanted that Seahawk style of defense. Well, Gus Bradley was the defensive coordinator in Seattle before Robert Saleh was in Seattle. So he knows that defense inside and out. He knows the personnel. He's been in the building. He knows the way they work. He knows all those things. He's got a guy right in place. And they say they're going to cast a wide net, but I also know that there's an awful lot of sentiment in the building to bring in Gus Bradley.
All right, one final one on this blitz. Jimmy, Jeff, does no one want to work with the Eagles as offensive coordinator? Or is it they do not want to work with Nick Sirianni? What a question, Jesus. Bit of both.
Well, I think you got to look at all of it's all of the things that are involved in this job, right? Obviously, the Eagles' job's a good job because you're gonna have good players, right? You got Devonta and you got AJ Brown, and you've got a good tight end. You got the best running back in football. You got a superior offensive line. The question is, and what I think when you look at the guys that are taking these jobs right now, and we're talking about McDaniel more than anybody else, I think he is intrigued about the opportunity to work with maybe the most talented quarterback outside of Matthew Stafford in Justin Herbert. Now, Justin Herbert hasn't played to that height yet, but he certainly has all the tools. And you've got two offensive tackles coming back now. As they get back healthy, you're going to have two all-pro tackles. You can upgrade the interior line. You've got a good running back. You got some threats outside. They need another receiver, but I think the Chargers are built to win, and I think that McDaniel prefers living in Los Angeles as over living in Philadelphia, and dealing with some of the things that he's going to have to deal with there.
It's going to be interesting to see, Jeff. We're going to be back very, very soon. We got picks on Friday, and then we'll see each other at the Super Bowl. Looking forward to everything that comes our way, my man. And we hope that everybody enjoys the action this weekend in the NFL. Do you want to see us out?
I will see us out, Michael. And this has been the Jeff Reinbold Show. I've been joined by Michael McQuaid, as always, my partner in Ireland. And we are brought to you by SBK. Please gamble responsibly and make sure you tune in to the Pro Football Ireland network of podcasts every week for this show. Aloha.